Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 380 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Anderson. Send you over to Jason Rugard. He's got a rundown for us.
On tonight's show, we got some trivia for you, a lot of movie news, reviews for She-Hulk, Samaritan, Me Time, and The Black Phone. And we're going to be talking trailers, specifically Wednesday, The Greatest Beer Run, the new Fletch movie, and the biopic about Weird Al starring the former Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe. Lots to go over tonight, and I want to thank you guys for joining us on the official Movie Mavericks podcast. If you haven't done so, rate, review, like, follow, do all that kind of stuff. It helps us out great. And we appreciate it. But lots to go over tonight, Trevor. And I know you're one for trivia. And I feel like I'm serving you up a big fastball down the middle for you to knock out of the park. How are you feeling on your trivia prowess at the moment?
I'm always good after I know the answer.
Right? It's so obvious.
Yeah, because then it's like, oh, shit, I did know that. Why didn't I? Yeah.
Well, I feel like this one, I'm going to preface this by saying, I feel like it's a little misleading or disingenuous at the least. So,
so there's a trick.
There's some room for error here.
To it.
There's
a movie error?
There's an interpretation to this that can be interpreted certain ways. So, having said that,
okay.
I was a big fan of the Elvis movie that came out this summer. You're going to catch up with it, I assume, here when it hits HBO Max. It's coming to HBO Max next week.
I'm not watching it.
You're missing a great flick.
I'm not going to watch it.
I'm telling you, you are missing an experience.
I've heard Elvis. I know everything I need to know about Elvis. I'm good.
All right. Well, there have been a lot of movie shows, TV stuff that's done about him, and that's kind of what our trivia question is.
Oh, yeah.
Now, which of these actors has not portrayed Elvis? You have 5 choices. 1, Kurt Russell.
He was Elvis.
2, Val Kilmer. 3,
he was Elvis.
John Rhys Meyers.
Yeah, he's Elvis.
4, Jeff Bridges. 5, Kevin Costner.
Well,
Yeah, right? I feel you thinking.
Well, Kevin Costner. Oh, shit. I'm going to guess Jeff Bridges.
You would be correct. You would be correct with that.
I was going to say Jeff Bridges was never... But Kevin Costner wasn't really Elvis either, right?
He was Elvis adjacent because he played an impersonator in 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
That's what I was going to say. He wasn't really Elvis per se.
Right, but he was an impersonator. So I was going to give you credit if you guessed either of those. Yeah, he was. I mean, it was an Elvis
Well, I don't remember
movie.
Jeff Bridges being Elvis ever.
No, but you think he would have been because he has the chops and he seems like he would have fallen into that.
You missed, you should have thrown in Bruce Campbell.
Oh my goodness. How did anybody ever overlook that? I mean, Bubba Hotep is maybe one of the best biopics ever about
Fantastic
Elvis.
Movie. Yeah, the Val Kilmer one's obscure.
Well, that's True Romance, as you know, but you're a big fan.
Yeah, but that's a little obscure.
I thought that would trip you up if I'm being honest.
So that was a hard one.
But you got it right away. I mean, you came to you right away.
I happen to know that. I got lucky, I guess.
You know some things,
I got lucky on that one.
But yeah, it's kind of a distinguished list of people that have tried their hand at it. And I got to tell you, this Austin Butler kid did a fantastic job. And if there's a quibble with the movie, it's not that, and it's not his performance. So I'd say just for his performance alone, check out the movie. It's eerie. All right, let's talk about some movie news, because a lot of stuff has gone on with the actors, actresses, wheeling and dealing and all that kind of stuff. But what I want to talk about at the top is that Netflix is turning 25. And I may be one of the only people in the country that still has the mail service going. When did you stop the mail DVD service?
Oh, I don't. 10 years ago, probably. I mean, I ran it for a little bit after the fact, but they didn't have anything that I wanted, so I quit.
They do have a dwindling supply.
Yeah, it's pretty bad actually. They don't have anything anymore. I don't know. Personally, I preferred the Blockbuster because Blockbuster Online had the stores to pull from, so they had DVDs that, of course, had gone out of print by the time even Netflix had started. So they had a deeper library, actually.
They did. I thought the Blockbuster service was just a better idea, that you could drop it off at the storefronts, pick up something in the store.
Well, not only would you drop it off, yeah, you'd get a free rental when you turned it in. It was a bit much. It was a bit too much, really. But yeah, it was the better service. Actually, I would prefer if I still just paid the $30 a month and went down with my one movie and swapped it out. To be honest with you,
Netflix won the streaming wars in a lot of ways in the early days of streaming wars. We don't know what the streaming road leads to ultimately.
There were no streaming wars.
Right. Do you recall?
It was only Netflix.
In 2008, when you and I were watching their streaming service, and you could only watch however many hours you had paid for. So if your plan was $12 a month, you got 12 hours a month of viewing.
I remember. I mean, before Netflix, Stars had their own thing, and you downloaded. You had to download. There was no streaming. You downloaded, and you could watch stuff, and that was like kind of mind blowing at that point. And so when Netflix came out just a little bit after that, and it was streaming, it was like, oh, this is clearly the future. But there were no. I mean, let's be honest. There was no competition, and like you say, it was so limited that it was by hour. Yeah, and now it's by stream, I guess.
I was watching obscure martial art films on there, dubbed and things. It wasn't like it was things like Half Past Dead 2. If they did have something on there that was new, it would be something of that ilk. So
I actually preferred that early library.
It was less choices. I could focus a little bit more. It was
limited, but it was still stuff that was interesting that I would want to watch. Like nowadays, that stuff is buried.
Yeah, you wouldn't find it. There was a Adrian Paul film about a guy in a garage, like a parking garage, stalking somebody, and I want to say it was called Trucks or Loaded, or I forget the name of it. I had to look up IMDb to actually get the name of it. I'm screwing up here. But regardless, it was one of those movies I came across because it was just there, and I never would have watched it before, after, or since.
Have
you seen that film? I want to say this is probably made in about 2004 to 2007 ish.
I mean, I remember we had a conversation about it, and
did you enjoy it as well? I mean,
I watched it. Yeah,
you did see it. Okay, I'm looking it up right now. This is going to drive me freaking crazy.
Yeah, that's going to drive me insane.
Yeah, because it was a little shitty B movie, but it was a fun little B movie. Now I kind of want
to rewatch it.
Okay, it's called Throttle.
Okay.
Throttle. It's from 2005.
Yeah, you told me about it, and I watched it, and it was pretty good, as I remember.
And you know what? I got to give a quick shout out because this director, James Seal, coincidentally, I just watched another one of his films, Scorcher, with Mark Dacascos and Rutger Hauer, that makes great use of like a lot of stock footage. I've been on the verge of
picking that movie up for a while now, because I find it everywhere, and I'm like, you picked it up on what?
On DVD for about $1.
On DVD, yeah. That's where I'm at right now. I keep seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, God, do I pull the trigger?
Yeah, so I mean, things like that were kind of the joyous days of the early streaming. It's amazing that it's 25 years old. I've had 2 DVDs sitting on my counter here for probably about the last month and a half, which is how they stay in business. Let's be honest, that's the whole business model. Is that you don't use it. What's
interesting is that you can get a lot of the Netflix movies that are streaming only that you can't buy. They actually don't release versions of these movies for you to purchase, but you can rent them on DVD.
I didn't realize that.
So that's they do press discs for some of these movies. Oh no, you can just download the stuff and make your own. The pirated stuff is I guarantee you just downloaded. But they do have some that I've seen. I mean, I haven't been on the thing in a while, but back when I was on it, there were some movies that were never released to DVD for retail, but you could rent them through the mail service.
Interesting. I mean, that kind of makes sense. If you don't want to pay the full bore for the viewership or the channel, I guess you could just get what you want.
I thought it was weird then. It's kind of weird. Maybe they don't do it anymore, but I thought it was interesting. There was which one it was? There was a David Spade movie that came out not too long ago that was like that.
Was it The Wrong Missy?
I don't know if it was that one or one before that, but someone was asking like, how could you get a copy of it? And one way you could either buy the bootleg, which is perfectly fine because it's just the downloaded movie. So the bootleg quality is great for bootleg streaming stuff. But or you could, and I looked it up, you could rent it through the mail system, and I guess just keep it. Then you have a copy of it.
That's totally bizarre to me that they would rent out their stuff like that too, because you could just then make copies of, like I said.
Well, but even then, I mean, you can download it. For anyone that doesn't know, you can go buy software that will allow you to download all the movies from Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, whatever streaming stuff. It's the same guys who did a lot of the DVD burning stuff. I'm not going to say too much about it, but you can go get it. It's affordable. You can get it. So
to speak to that, we're going to talk about three of the things that we're talking about on today's show, and for in terms of the reviews, are straight to streaming services, and I wouldn't necessarily want to own these, with the exception of one, but for the majority, I wouldn't want to own these. They're pretty forgettable.
So there's a question, though, about some of that when it comes to not releasing anymore on physical media, because I'm a big physical media collector. I do want to own some of these. There's one of these movies we're going to talk about that I would love to own a physical copy of, but I don't know if it would get a release or not, but it would be amazing, The other side of this is, and I didn't check, and we'll talk about this when we do the review, but where's the special features? Like, I'm so lost without
commentaries,
the physical media, without my special features,
Give me a featurette.
Just give me the featurette where everyone's like blowing each other, like, you're so good, oh my god, it's the greatest time in the world, at least that. I don't even get that anymore, it feels like. Unless you watch like a press junket shit on YouTube or something. That's
what I'm saying. Do you remember the HBO First Look, which were basically just those digital production, what would they call those, the PK kits, and that they would just send those out to the media, and they would fashion it as it was like an HBO half an hour behind the scenes look.
I have some of those. I have a Fantastic Four one. I do have
my
some
favorites are the Mel Gibson ones. I mean, you can find them on YouTube, where he basically was directing them, running around with a camera on the Warner Brother lot, and you'd see.
I mean, the actual kit. I have an actual kit.
Oh shit! Okay, I'm talking about
so you
just
get
these
stills, and that one might just be a DVD. But they used to send out the kits with the DVDs and stuff. But you used to get stills and all kinds of shit.
Oh yeah, and like an explanation of the plot and all that for writers to do their articles on the run times. But I just think that I miss I was thinking about that the other day. I miss, and it's fucked up is, I want to point this out. If you buy a digital copy, it's not unanimous the special features you get from platform to platform. Apple, on their release, they'll have a lot more digital features. They'll have extras, running commentary on a lot of times they won't, but there's certain things like My Apocalypse Now redo. It has both of them on there. It has a whole slew of things. If you were to buy that on Vudu or Amazon, it's not necessarily the same special features that are across the board.
You're buying it not even for your lifetime, is the thing that bothers me. Like, it would be different if you bought it and it was like, it's good for your lifetime guaranteed, but it's not, and physical media at this point is like, all this physical media that I have, I'll be able to watch on my deathbed. I have no doubt about it, because all the players exist now. They'll last that long, no problem. But the digital media stuff, we're talking about business deals here, companies that can just go under, can decide they don't want to distribute this anymore. Deals can go bad, all kinds of shit. You have no control over it. I don't like that aspect of it.
We gripe about this, I should say. I think cumulatively we own about 400 movies digitally. So we're part of the problem as well. But I mean, for ease of use and convenience, you can't beat that shit. Although I don't even know if you need to buy things digitally anymore, because they come on the services so quickly. And a lot of things, barring Top Gun Maverick, I'm not sure if I would purchase many things that I've seen this year that need to be rewatched.
I mostly buy older things.
That's correct. Yeah, so do I. Because a lot of times,
just to be sure that I have it, because, the older stuff, especially if we're talking about, when you start talking about like streaming collections, like Netflix specific movies, or even movies that are Amazon specific, it's rare that I really give a shit about any of those. But to some degree, just buy the service for the month. They're guaranteed to be there pretty much. You can watch them to your heart's content. Like, I'm not so worried about those disappearing as I am the studio library movies, that phase in and out from all the different streaming services and stuff. And those can just one day up and disappear when no one has any interest in them, when they don't have enough value anymore. Where do these go?
Yeah, let me tell you about one that I've been trying to hunt down It's called Best Friends from 1982 with Burt Reynolds and Goldie Hawn, directed by Barry Levinson. Like, why can't I? Or it's written by Barry Levinson. Why can't I find this movie? It's not even available. You can't get it printed. You have to find like the original press copy of it. It's not digital anywhere. So there's movies that didn't make it over to the digital platform that need to be there as
100%, yeah.
But let's move on. Let's talk about MoviePass, because MoviePass is making a reappearance. It's relaunching, and you can get on the wait list. They're claiming to have things up and running by September, which as we record is about 3 days away. So I'm not sure when in September they plan to have this, but this is a sudden...
2 days? Tomorrow? Day to that? How many days are in August?
How many... this is why I didn't sign up for the relaunch. Did you sign up for the relaunch?
Well, no. I signed up to be... it's not open yet, is it?
It's a wait list. Are you on the wait list?
No.
I just don't have any faith in this company. Is the wait list open? It's officially open, yes. You getting on there? You're getting on the wait list, aren't you?
What are you talking about? Don't listen to my... You're not hearing...
The shenanigans that this fucking company has put us on.
The only way to join will be through an invite. So, Jason, I'm gonna need an invite, buddy, when you're ready.
What are they going to have? Fucking like Fire Island? They're going to have the MoviePass festival?
I'm rather uninterested in MoviePass right now because I couldn't... well, first of all, I have Dollar Tuesdays here for whatever fucking movie I want to see.
Kick ass.
So eat that, everybody, in the theater. I got a second run theater right here. And, B, what fucking movie? It's not like it was a couple years ago when that shit was running. And I was like, every week, I was like, fuck yeah, every weekend, I'll be at the theater. Give me a fucking movie pass. And I just couldn't imagine that right now. No way in hell.
There's no content, even in the middle of the summer, which is why they're coming back out. They know that the attendance is low. Regal's going to be closing down. They filed for bankruptcy, basically. It's a shit show here, and I'm not sure who's behind this relaunch. This exclusivity thing is...
Oh, it was the original owner, right? I mean, isn't that what he said? It was the guy... Because it got sold to the hedge fund, and the hedge fund drove it into the ground, they said. And so they bought it back, and now they're going to run it correctly. I just think, what's the correct way to run this fucking thing? Yeah, there's no correct way. I don't understand how this works, If someone has to make money, so someone's paying for this. It's going to be us, I guess. I don't understand how it would work.
Maybe in a couple years when Hollywood's back on its feet in terms of blockbusters every weekend and just... dozens of things a month that I want to see, but right now I couldn't care less about MoviePass in the last 5 years, even pre-shutdown. I mean, 2009, I think it went out of business in July of 18, technically, and even in 19, I wouldn't have been able to use it like I wanted to. I mean, I wasn't particularly thrilled with the offerings that year, so I don't know. I don't think it's that great of a value. I really don't.
Yeah, used to be, but yeah.
It was even when I had it initially, and they would say, "Oh, we ran out of tickets." Remember me texting you that they ran out of fucking tickets? Like, what do you mean you ran out of tickets? Oh, you only bought so many from this theater, and they got all used up. It's like, well, I'm paying for the service. I would rather have paid more for it to work correctly than to pay less and have it break down.
Yeah, you're paying for a shot at maybe you might get in.
Yeah, so it's like
okay.
Yeah, it's a hell of a business model.
That's okay. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how this works, But they're going to need more content, which maybe they may get in the future. It's going to take a lot. I mean, Warner Brothers right now is also being forced to stop focusing on streaming and start getting back into theater stuff. So maybe we'll see some other companies turn. I mean, Disney kind of never gave up on the theater, really, because they made so much damn money in it. But obviously that window between theatrical release and streaming, if not just straight out a lot of shit just going streaming, did a lot of damage, I think, in these last couple of years.
It really has. It's fashion people that get spoiled with it. And I was wondering, we'll talk about this in our reviews, but I wonder if the impact, positive or negative, would have even been greater in a theater as I was watching these films.
Well, one issue I think is that the content's not very good. So when I watch a lot of this stuff and I think, God, I'd be super pissed if I paid premium money to see this in a theater. That's even worse in a way. Like so in a way, I agree with what the Discovery Plus guys are doing with the Warner Brothers, saying just no, we're not going to show this stuff because to some extent, it's like, man, this is what you're offering? Like, why? Who's going to pay top dollar for this?
I'm telling you, you go to see a movie in the theater that's good, and that experience will last you for months. You'll ride
100%.
that high for months, and you see a shitty movie, and you almost immediately forget about it, but it kind of puts you overall down on the experience of going because you know.
But the issue is if there's a bunch, like if there's a bunch of turds in a row, like, I don't know, like that sticks with you after a while.
Yeah, and it could be different genres too. I mean, there's different years I can look back on and go, oh, there was the writer's strike was looming. Look at 2009 and the shit that was out that year. You know, you could just see when there's certain things happening that are aligning to just make a bad year of films, and that'll put you off for a long time and gets the average person not wanting to go back anymore, I don't think, because why would you go through all that hassle?
I mean, this year was particularly bad. If I pulled up the top earning movies of this year so far, I would be like, oh my God, this is not a great year for movies. Although Top Gun, I'm ready to go back to the theater now. If I just think about Top Gun, like that experience, that possibility. I mean, you're right. You think more heavily about the good times than the bad times, but I don't know, man. The scale is like shifted so much in one direction at this point. It's just like, God.
It's pretty amazing that it's pretty amazing that Top Gun had the kind of audience reaction it did. I mean, we'll talk about this specifically. I want to watch it again coming up here. I'm waiting for the full-on digital release and not this half-assed one. I want all the special features on this thing, and then we'll talk about a deep dive.
Well, I just think it's 4K.
It's amazing that it gave people that buzz that going to the movies is a good time again. And it doesn't have to be this disappointing experience. It's the reason I didn't go see Nope. And I hope that doesn't sound, reactionary, but I just didn't want to be disappointed. Yeah, because it felt like a bait and switch.
About it, but I know I feel the same way about you. Like I'm almost afraid to watch that after seeing I don't know, like I don't really want to watch another demise of like an M. Night Shyamalan type director again. It's so uninteresting by the end of it. You're just like, oh, it's too bad, And I just I'm not interested in going on that journey again.
That's what I feel like. It's the concept journey, right? Where the trailer's great, the concept is great, but you know that ultimately the magician can't keep an even tone or a completion from beginning to end of the magic trick, whatever that may be. And that you know that there's a disappointment waiting for you after a long tease. And that's what I felt with Old. And when it pays off, it's great. Signs and obviously Sixth Sense.
But it happens to all those people who get held up on that kind of pedestal.
Type of storytelling.
I would even think like Nolan,
I think.
For 100%, like Christopher Nolan, this happened to him, And it's unfortunate because movies that might be okay, that you might be fine with otherwise, the expectation just kind of ruins it.
Yeah. It's a big letdown, and I think that when word gets out like that, you see this diminishing effect. Even though Nope did fairly well, it did fairly well. But then again, what other competition was out there?
Well, it did fairly well, but look at the box office for Jordan Peele over the time, and you'll see where it's heading.
Well, look at something in terms of success ratio. Look at the Black Phone.
This happened in
just terms of success.
Mm-hmm.
Well, M. Night was able to maintain it for a long time before the wheels fell off.
And so is Jordan Peele right now. Look at those box office numbers. He's going to maintain for a little bit. But like I say, that's a journey. I don't know that I'm willing to go on a journey of diminished returns,
Yeah, I know. And I want to see it first. It's not fair. Actually, I got to see Nope. I will be seeing it.
I agree. I will be seeing it. I agree. Yes.
We could both love it, and this is moot. So let's move on and talk about Ryan Gosling is going to be joining Margot Robbie, his co-star in the Barbie movie by Greta Gerwig. That's getting great buzz lately, which is odd, but that seems poised to be a hit from what everyone's saying. And they are teaming up, Warner Brothers is teaming them up for Ocean's 11, a prequel film directed by Jay Roach of the Austin Powers series. Very bizarre. This is going to be set in the 1960s with a European flavor. What are we doing here?
I don't know. I like a lot of Jay Roach's stuff. He's what's the Broken Lizard guy? He's part of that group.
Oh, with the Jay Shand. No, that's Jay Shaver.
Am I thinking of somebody else? Yeah, that's
You're
the
thinking
other guy?
of that guy. Yeah, no, Jay Roach is Austin Powers. I want to say he did The Big Short as well.
You're
not
right.
The Big Short.
Right.
He did Bombshell. He's been around for quite a while. Recount.
Yeah, you're right.
The HBO film. mean, what are your thoughts here?
I don't know. I have no interest in Ocean anything at this point.
Do you think it's weird that they're giving up on the Sandra Bullock storyline, that they're not moving forward with any
that did
subsequence?
Fairly well. I don't know. Sandra Bullock seems to be uninterested in sequels. I'm just going to put that out there because she's had quite a bit of hits that just that I think beg for a sequel that we get none. So
hold on,
I think.
Is Speed 2 the only sequel she's ever appeared in? No, Miss Congeniality 2. She did Miss Congeniality 2.
She did, but those are all old, right?
But I'm trying to think, what other sequels has she appeared in?
A sequel to any of her movies that make money. So I don't know. She might just be uninterested in sequels, which is fine. So I don't know. But the Ocean stuff is played out. Like, I think we all get it at this point.
It's just cool for being the sake of cool. I tried to rewatch the first one recently, and it's deadly dull. I don't remember it being that dull, and I think that the second one is so glib that it's hard to get behind for me. And the third one, I think, is actually the gem of the bunch, but it's so slight that it's not really much of anything. But that filmmaking style, I mean, Ocean's 11, if anything, kind of made very mainstream a certain type of filmmaking, a certain type of cutting. You know, even television mimicked it for a long time thereafter. I'd say CSI, even with a lot of their cuts and the way they do stuff, was very Soderbergh-esque from that period. What do you think about the original Ocean's movies?
I remembered liking them. I've not seen them in a long time, but I'm going to guess a lot of Soderbergh stuff is basic. I don't know if that's the right word to use or if that's descriptive enough, but it's very 90s. You know, he's very what's the word? How would you describe that? Basic, right? He's just very to the point. It's like a very minimalistic.
Sparse. Yeah.
Minimalistic, yeah, sparse. Very 90s indie, you know, and he's never really lost that. He's always had that with everything that he's made. So they play like that, and they're fine. I remember watching Ocean's 13 and thinking, okay, like at this point, like we've gone through this whole this voyage with all these characters and everything, and I'm fairly with it. Like I get the overall, you know, camaraderie and everything that's working here, and then it ends, and you're kind of like, okay, that was good. This need to revive that or keep that going, like it was done. We were good, you know. I don't think there's any way to bring this back. We're good, and it really, the Sandra Bullock one, even it was fine, but you know, I mean, it made a lot of money, made enough money to warrant a sequel, I think, but only for a business, you know, decision in my mind. Like there's no artistic value in any of these Ocean stuff.
Well, even the original, the Sinatra one's awful. Let's be honest. That these are all an improvement on the source material.
But you have to admit, like the Sinatra one was the Rat Pack thing. It was at least it had a point to exist. They had to recreate a Rat Pack for the remakes.
That's true, and to different degrees of success. I mean, I wouldn't even say that the Soderbergh ones have the whole group working and firing as a whole. You know, I think specifically Damon, Pitt, and Clooney gel really well together, but the other ones kind of, I feel, get lost in the pack, including Don Cheadle, who's very charismatic, but I don't know why he insists on being English in that. I mean, especially coming off his performance in Out of Sight, where he's a great villain, a criminal from Detroit. I thought that I could use a little bit more of that character and less of the English bloke.
I mean, I would just argue that most, aside from like Julia Roberts, maybe, I think most of those people weren't famous enough to really have been considered like a Rat Pack level type thing. Like those guys were kind of famous, not even for movies, but for other things. And this felt more like a recreation than anything else. A lot of these people were 90s, indie darlings and stuff. So
I'd even say, going back to Out of Sight, that Jennifer Lopez would have been a better choice in that role than Julia Roberts. In terms
possibly,
of being
but I think the point,
the desirable female.
I actually disagree, because the point of what they used her for in that movie wouldn't make sense, I don't think, with Jennifer Lopez as much as it did with Julia Roberts. Being with Julia Roberts' past with things like Notting Hill and like if you think of like a big female movie star and stuff who's very recognizable, I'm going to think Julia Roberts way before I think Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, especially at that time. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll concede that. Okay, let's move on and talk a little bit about Ferris Bueller,
Big fan over here of Ferris Bueller. I assume you are too, because anybody that grew up in our generation saw this. I mean, infinitely quotable. Rewatched it a couple years back. I think we rewatched it during the pandemic. Did not hold up well with the younger generation. I'll say that. They were not as amused at his hijinks as I thought they would be.
The younger kids did not like it, huh?
They just didn't really think it was forgettable for them, and for me and the other
I can
boomer in the
understand
room,
that, I guess.
it was great. But there's going to be a television spinoff. We've already covered that there was a television spinoff in the 90s, but this is going to be another one from the creators of the Cobra Kai series. I have not done the deep dive on Cobra Kai that everybody else has. It's like Game of Thrones. I've seen a couple episodes. Yeah. I know it's good. I just haven't dedicated the energy and time to it.
I don't even know if it's good. I've seen a couple episodes and thought, it's okay. Like, I can maybe watch more, but I never did.
I didn't go back. I watched half a season on an airplane and thought, Johnny Lawrence still kicks ass. I'm loving everything he does, but I'm not really interested in the kids.
I think I liked the idea of it more than I did the execution of it, but I get why people like it, and I give no faults to anyone that watches it and loves it. It just didn't ring true for me.
My thing with the Cobra Kai series is that William Zabka and Daniel LaRussa, to a lesser extent, Ralph Macchio, the Zabka guy, he went away. If you weren't following closely to low-budget martial arts movies in the 90s, you probably hadn't seen him on screen since maybe Back to School. And it's you kind of maybe imagine that he's really like this Johnny Lawrence character, that he's bitter and mad at the industry. So this mystery of him played a little bit into that, is what I'm saying. But with Matthew Broderick, if he's going to have anything to do with the show, he still stayed in the limelight enough that we know what his life turned out to be, that he's not this ultra cool character. I mean, the fact that Matthew Broderick ever even pulled off a character that has some sort of charisma and style and coolness about him is amazing to me, because the guy is so awkward in every performance since. I mean, every single one.
But I can't think of I mean, you're right. And I think he plays to that as if that's a strength, which is interesting now that you bring that up. Because he does.
I would have named another actor who could have killed that role during that era, but didn't have the box office clout, and that's Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman would have been a great Ferris Bueller as a teenager.
Yeah, he would have been. Actually, he might have been a better one, because he has that delivery that's
it's kind of smart alecky,
kind
of knowing,
but not at the same time. Yeah, a little. Yeah. I think you're right, because I'm even thinking of even when Broderick plays a cool character, he's somewhat inept. Always there's always something. He's not quite capable completely.
He's never up to the task, right? That's how I always feel about his character.
And it's different. Like when I think of because I would here's a comparable person who I think is way cooler, but John Cusack.
Yep.
I mean, it's easy, right? I think John Cusack's super cool, but he could play a kind of adult, if he wanted to.
Absolutely could have done Ferris Bueller. Let's be honest.
Whereas if I
that's
think
another great
of
choice.
Broderick, there's no way Broderick's ever playing cool. I just don't think it would work.
I mean, he does in Ferris. I mean, he makes it work somehow. So
I know, but he's much younger, so I'm thinking of an older Broderick. I mean, you're right, but he never really. I can't think of any time ever again. Mostly, he plays to being that kind of nerdy type, unsure of himself person, almost in everything.
Yeah, it's Broderick. What is he really? What's his heights after Ferris Bueller in terms of box office success? It's Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget, Godzilla.
Awful. Godzilla. Why? He's so miscast in Godzilla. He's so miscast.
Well,
in
he's not
movie.
cool in Godzilla either. I guess that's a role he's supposed to be cool in, but he doesn't. It doesn't work, right? Even at the beginning of that movie when he's trying to get the worms and stuff.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's supposed to be a cool moment, like he's able to do this, and he seems like such a nerd,
When the girl hits on him and she thinks I'm cute, and it's oh god, this is so bad. I mean, it doesn't work anywhere. And
especially when you're playing opposite of Jean Reno, who's fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, eating scenery all around you.
Yeah,
and just dominating the scene basically. And who is the best part of that movie? Let's be honest. Him and Hank Azaria.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Hank Azaria and Jean Reno are fucking awesome in that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still think that Godzilla is comparable to the 2014 version. But that's just
I think it's better. Opinion. I like the 90s Godzilla or whatever.
It's hard to say you liked it.
It's 1999. It was 98.
It's hard to say you like it because it was such a disappointment. I'm sure
I
you
do
too
like
when you
it.
saw it.
It was a disappointment at the time. I hated it at the time. Actually, that's not true. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it lived up to what I wanted it to be. But you know what? I had just seen Independence Day not too long before that, and I love that movie, so what the fuck ever.
I saw that movie four times in the
I hate
theater.
Independence Day now. I fucking hate it.
I can't get through it.
Godzilla movie, I love that Godzilla movie. So explain that shit to me.
I cannot get through Independence Day in one sitting. I have to break it up by the days. Like, all
It's
right,
a
July
horrible
2nd, July
movie.
3rd, July 4th.
It's jarringly edited. Like the story, like comes together so oddly. I don't. Roland Emmerich needed Michael Bay in the editing room to make that fucking thing work.
Yeah, that to me felt like a project that he really didn't want to do. But I mean, I think we've discussed. Have we done a retro on Godzilla? Because if not, we should go back and look at that and maybe do a retrospective
I don't think
episode.
we have, but I think we should.
Yeah, I think that's on the table here at some point because we're having a spirited discussion about it. And that leads right actually into the next topic, which is Jurassic Park Dominion is going to be available on Peacock in both the theatrical and with the director's cut on September 2nd, I believe, of this year here. So about 3 weeks, or I'm sorry, 3 days. And Colin Trevorrow, who is the director, who every time I say Trevorrow, it looks like it's misspelled tomorrow, but that's just me.
I know, right?
It's just like a spelling error. But Colin Trevorrow has pleaded with fans to not watch the theatrical cut. He says this 14-minute intro and extra scenes really helped the film. You saw this in theaters. Do you think that... Which cut should I watch? I'm going to watch one. I'm not going to watch them both.
Yeah, I'm watching this director's cut now that this is coming out. The theatrical cut is boring as shit.
Then how does 15 minutes help it?
I don't know, but I'm watching it now.
At least you're honest. I wanted to see this in theaters because I know the experience and the whole Jurassic Park thing and seeing the first one was one of the magical movie-going experience. But yeah, you said it wasn't very good. Somebody else said that it was a movie.
Well, you know what?
You
remember how bad the second one was?
I didn't think it was that. Wait, are you talking about Lost
give me a
World? Or are you talking
break.
about
By the
Fallen
end of the
Kingdom?
fucking movie, you like that shit?
Which one? Fallen Kingdom or
Fallen Kingdom?
Look, the first 2/3 I thought were entertaining, and then
That's a movie that it's just dog shit. It just ends dog shit. It's not really that. The first Jurassic World I thought was pretty good.
Yes, it is.
But that sequel is not great, and this one's is a bit better than that one I thought. But it's fucking boring.
I watched the last two back to back on a plane, and Jurassic World is head and shoulders above the second one. I thought because I watched them in such close proximity, there was a lot of crossover. It's a direct sequel at least, so I thought, okay, this is working. Now there's some characters I didn't care for.
This one's a direct sequel too.
Okay, well then shit, maybe I might like it because I don't dislike this world. I think I like Jurassic World more than you as well.
This is what I'm telling you. I would rank Jurassic World. I would rank Dominion and then Fallen. I don't think you're gonna hate it. Like it's not that. It's so fucking mediocre. Like why did we spend? How much money did we fucking spend on this? This is where I'm at with these movies. Like you can't spend hundreds of millions of dollars on shit and then it's just. Like, you could have spent $20 on it. It's the same fucking movie.
Well, the fact that the director wants you to watch the director's cut, I'm always interested in...
That's a little telling, though.
Yeah, what happened behind the scenes, and it felt like Universal said, look, we got to get this to a manageable time, because I think with this extra 14 minutes, you're looking at about a 2:40 running time. I think it's at about 2:20-ish right now.
It was a long movie
extra.
And it felt long.
Yeah, which is another reason I did not want to go see this, because you know what didn't feel long was Top Gun, which was 135 minutes. So that felt like a fucking bullet.
And this is a movie, you could easily make a Jurassic Park just like that. That's why I don't understand this. Why these movies get so bogged down in a... It's much like the difference between the first Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 2. Where you have a movie that's just lean and mean, it knows what it is, and then Jurassic Park 2 is like, well, we're going to make more dinosaurs, and it's so bogged down in the storyline. It's like, God, why are you trying so fucking hard? And then Jurassic Park 3 comes out, and nobody apparently likes it, but it's like,
kicks ass.
That's a great fucking movie. Like, how do you not like this shit?
My man,
so
let me
I'm
tell you something.
About all of this. I'm confused about everything people like.
The most unheralded sequel or entry installment in the whole fucking franchise is Jurassic Park 3. Why does that get no love? Why is that dumped on like dismissed, it's like it's barely canon? It's good.
I don't know. I think it's good. I'd go Jurassic Park 3, really, and then Jurassic World, and then Jurassic Park 2, and then Dominion, and then Fallen.
Just because I thought Chris Pine was so good in that first one, I would put it behind the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and then 3 for me.
Pratt.
Pratt. I'm sorry. One of the Pratt guys.
We know what you meant. I just wanted to.
I mean, I know
correct it for the
he
record,
had his
but yeah.
breakout role in Guardians,
Well,
but
but
I
isn't
thought
that's
he
why
was
I
more
thought
assured in Jurassic.
100%. So when you mentioned like Top Gun, like that was kind of like that feeling of that he had of that character in that first Jurassic World, and I don't know, like it kind of follows that path with these characters that Jurassic Park 2 did, where it's kind of like they lose their edge. Like now it's more about like, oh, they're a group of people. I guess Star Wars did the same thing with all of its movies as well. Like any sequel, kind of like characters lose their edge. It feels like
It's very
sometimes
episodic.
it just doesn't work.
All right, let's move on and talk about the passing of Wolfgang Peterson, who died this last, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, at 81. And we were talking about these behind-the-scenes EPK kits, and I was watching on YouTube The Making of Troy about 3 weeks ago, and he was front and center on that as the director. And it's funny because on the making of it, it's this big love show and whatnot. But if you read anything with Brad Pitt, he says he was forced into doing it because he dropped out of the fountain with Darren Aronofsky, which Hugh Jackman ended up stepping in and replacing him. But it's interesting because there's no sign of that. It's just everyone's having a great time in Malta, and their production couldn't have been going better. And it's just really like behind the scenes, it was a shit show for real. But Peterson really had his moment in the sun with The Perfect Storm, and another boat movie, Poseidon, no pun intended, is what sank his career.
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. So he's directed a lot of really great movies that people probably don't know he directed. But I mean, Poseidon definitely was the downturn, and I guess the end. I don't think he directed anything after that.
I don't think so. Not at a studio
I can't
level.
remember anything that he's directed after that. Yeah, and that was not a good movie.
It was not a good movie. I mean, first of all, I don't think Josh Lucas is a leading
Emmerich
man.
keep working?
I'm always amazed when there's a new Roland Emmerich film.
But Peterson was done. That's it.
But if you look at Peterson's filmography, obviously Das Boot is the one that
a lot of Germans
broke through.
Whatever. He's German, right? Yeah,
yeah,
Das Boot.
Absolutely. But
Das Boot.
Never-Ending Story.
As we've learned, I know. That's what I'm saying. There's movies that you didn't know he directed, but it's Das Boot apparently. That's what
I thought it was always Boot.
Our German friend told us. It's Das Boot. We only Americans say Das Boot apparently.
All right, sorry, Patrick. Out there,
Interestingly
Patrick
enough,
Wall.
Yep.
We do have a couple fans in Germany, and Patrick
Recently
Wall let us know
it.
that.
He says Das Boot, you idiots.
We're American. We're stupid, so you got to forgive us.
It's true. But anyhow, Never Ending Story, Enemy Mine, which I always thought was a favorite of mine.
That's a fucking overlooked movie. I love that movie.
Favorite of mine. Also, one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies, In the Line of Fire.
Absolute gem.
Which Malkovich is fucking crazy in it because he's always crazy. Malkovich is awesome.
The way he built that gun, he basically had a 3D printer back in the day. Remember that?
Oh my God.
It was awesome.
Yeah, fucking awesome.
And let's also not forget Air Force One. Another classic action film.
Probably his biggest movie, really. I can't think of a big one, aside from Das Boot.
I think The Perfect
Air Force
Storm
One,
may have
right?
outgrossed it. I believe so.
Possibly, you're right, because that would have been still...
That's about 2000, about 3 years later, and I want to say it made about...
Twister era of like those types of...
it's a disaster movie.
Disaster movies being really big, you're right. But I still feel like Air Force One outlasted that. That's a bigger movie than Perfect Storm today, for sure.
In terms of rewatchability, they're both pretty hard to get through. I got to be honest. I tried to rewatch both of them recently, like in the last year.
I haven't tried to rewatch either one of them, so...
Yeah, Never-Ending Story was easier to get through than either of those. So I'll have to rewatch In the Line of Fire. I think that's available right now on Crackle.
I love that
or one
movie.
of those streaming services. I think actually even on Amazon, but great fucking movie. So always sad to hear about the passing of a great director. And
really a minimalist style. We were talking about the sparseness of the Soderbergh style, but Soderbergh uses a lot of those extreme color palettes and you know, a lot of experimental techniques as well. Yeah, whereas Wolfgang Peterson had a studio-friendly style from the jump and made Neverending Story basically outside the studio system in Germany and was bought by Warner Brothers and turned into, you know, an 80s classic. Just, I don't know, just a kind of a magical film. Are you a fan of Troy? I know we did a retro from it a couple years back, but I can't recall if you're a big fan. Do you prefer it over Alexander, the Oliver Stone film?
Oh, yes, by far. But Alexander has grown on me. I would say, but I've always, hands down, it's not even a contest. Troy is way better than Alexander.
Do you know what I would say is that for a further in-depth conversation of this, check out our Troy retrospective that we did I think about a year or two back. But for the briefness of it, I think that Troy is super entertaining as a movie, where Alexander is such an interesting failure. And there's such richness and texture to a lot of it, and weird little avenues it goes down, that it's more intriguing in the long run to go back to and look at, to be like, oh, this could have been something, and here, this is interesting, this sucks.
I mean, I would throw Kingdom of Heaven in there as one that I thought was terrible when I saw it, but really grew on me after seeing it a couple times. That's why have I seen that a couple times? I don't know, but...
Do you know which one didn't do that, which I thought would, was Body of Lies? That's another one, a Ridley Scott film that is so cold to me, I thought would grow on me.
I forget it exists, and it might as well. I should remember it exists, you know. But I forget. That is one. That did not do well when it was released either.
No, it didn't. It tanked as well. All right, let's move on and talk about some movie reviews here. We made you guys wait 45 minutes for our reviews, and we want to thank you guys for sticking with us. But to start it off, we got to talk about what, to me, was the biggest release of the weekend. Sylvester Stallone's MGM film, Samaritan, which was supposed to be released back in 2020, had gotten pushed back numerous times, was going to be a Christmas release last year, got pushed to August of this year. And instead of going theatrical, it went straight to streaming. Amazon bought MGM a while back, and they have dumped a couple of their movies on the service. With this last weekend grossing only, the top film in the country was The Invitation, which grossed under $7 million. I got to believe that if they had put any more sort of marketing behind this would have won the weekend. This could have made $10 million, I believe, at the weekend box office.
I worry that... but a win from this weekend is not a win. I worry that something like this, I would rather not see numbers from this, because I don't think this would be proof that these types of movies are worth it. I think numbers on streaming would be better than numbers in theater for something like this. So I'm glad that this came out streaming, because I think it's a fucking awesome movie, and I want to see more of these types of films. And they obviously, from what we've seen in the past 10 years, this shit doesn't sell in theaters. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's the fact that this went. Sorry, I'm stupefied that this went straight to streaming. And
but I'm not wrong, man. We've seen both Stallone and Schwarzenegger make some really great movies. They both made shit, but they both make really great movies. It just didn't really cut the mustard. You know, they didn't do much here in theater, and I think it's way better to have this stuff on streaming at this point.
I'm just saying the last Stallone release did almost 20 million opening. Rambo did 18.8 million a couple years back. I know that's Rambo, bigger, but
that's what I'm saying. Like I'm thinking of like Bullet to the Head and stuff like that, you know, which were great movies. But that's where this movie kind of is. This isn't some. I don't think this is like, just because it's a superhero movie doesn't mean it's relevant, you know.
That's true. But let's get into the review. I didn't know what to expect here. I was expecting something Hitch-like in Will Smith film back in 2008. This didn't have the humor of that, but my quibble with the movie, look, like, I like the movie. I'm recommending the film. It's a cheesy little film. I think that it owes a lot to RoboCop in a lot of ways, and in fact, there's a RoboCop arcade in the back. I felt like this is RoboCop 3. Do you know what I mean? I felt like that's what the stakes were.
No, I thought this was more. I mean, I see what you're saying about that. I thought this was more mid-90s. I felt, to me, this was almost like a Schwarzenegger movie, but better played for a Stallone film, really. But this felt like something that Schwarzenegger might have said yes to in like 96 or something.
I would even say 91. I go back even further, but you're right. This is a lost gem from that era. I wish that this had been made 30 years ago with a younger Stallone who was aging. I do like the whole Dark Knight Returns aspect of this, with the grizzled, aging superhero. I'm talking about the comic book, not the movies, but with that kind of elder 70-year-old superhero who doesn't want it anymore. There is a twist in this. Well, first of all, Stallone's great in this. He's the reason to watch this movie. He's, I think, the best thing about it. If my quibble with the
kid was
cast
good too, but yeah,
the kid's okay. I thought the kid some points was a little bit raw, but I thought he was at least not your typical
he's very
Hollywood
90s.
brat.
He delivers a 90s feel to the whole thing, which is why I thought it worked with the kid. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Stallone is...
Come on, when he gets hit by the car and he delivers that "fuck no" line, I laughed out loud. I loved that line. I wish there was more of that. I thought that everybody just kind of accepted he was Samaritan pretty easily in terms of the villains. That they, or whoever they thought.
But it was proof positive for the villains right away.
Because they hit him with the car.
I actually disagree. But you're kind of wrong about that because they didn't believe it until after they saw him after he got hit by the car, right? They didn't believe it before that. Even though the kids told them that all this shit happened and stuff, and those guys were like, well, we're just going to kill him, run him over the car. They didn't believe it then even.
I just felt like a lot of this felt rushed to me. Didn't the film... I'm not for longer movies, but I thought this could have been 10 minutes longer or so.
Oh yeah, in that sense, possibly yes. I agree with you on that. But this is one of the better written movies that I've seen all year.
Yeah, I think so too. And the twist, to me at least, I did not see the twist coming. I think because I believe that Stallone is always a hero and will always be the good guys. And you know why else I didn't think the twist was coming? And please, spoiler alerts here, guys. So fast forward a few minutes ahead. I thought that there was going to be a bit of stunt casting. I really thought you would get an Arnold or a Dolph or somebody, an Armando Santes to show up. So I thought that was going to be the reveal at the end, that there would be a stunt casting kind of move. So that's what I was waiting for. So I didn't pick up on the narrative of it.
Thought there was too many hints, way too many hints, and I called it. I won't say early, but relatively well before the ending, and nobody believed me. But I was right because I thought it was pretty obvious. I got there a while, especially when like he was having the dreams about it, which made me realize, they don't show you shit of like what happened with this. Why would they have a reason to hold that back? But specifically, the moment that really sealed the deal for me was when the kid steals the binder from him, and he goes, "Why do you have all those clippings and stuff from Samaritan?" He says, "I'm just a big fan like you." I thought, oh well, fucking yeah. Now you're just telling me,
That was a little on the nose in hindsight, but I was going with it at that point. I liked the story. I liked the development of it. I liked those setups, the low keyedness of it.
What I was talking about, like for my complaints about Prey, where like the setups are all just foreshadowing and shit. These are the types of setups that I love, that make you think. You got to think about it. Like they're telling you, but they're just leaving little hints, little breadcrumbs for you to follow and try to like figure out. And maybe you're wrong. Like I was relatively sure, but I wasn't 100% sure. They could totally have just been like, fuck it. No, you were wrong the whole time. Like we weren't giving you any hints. You were reading into it. All that shit could be real. But that's what I find great about movies that are written like this, with these types of setups where, you have a deeper movie than what you're actually watching, right? Because now if you go back and rewatch it, which you said you did and played even better, you have a different viewpoint of this fucking character.
Absolutely. I watched it a second time before we've done this. It plays better a second time. It does, knowing the twist, knowing what to look out for, looking at the richness of some things that I may have overlooked on the first viewing. But my quibble still stands, and I have two quibbles with it. It's a recommendation for me. I think it fits right in with the Stallone filmography.
Podcast if we didn't talk shit about the movies we love.
Well, we also, because nothing's perfect. Let's be honest, and these 100%. Are things that I wish.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
One is, I thought it had a relatively weak set of villains, and I don't mean what the intention of the villains were. I thought the casting was a little on the weak side. I thought I wanted something a little bit more physically imposing, something a little less.
They were supposed to be humans,
hipster.
so you would want to instead of had humans like that, you would want to have another superhero. Is what you're.
I just mean even actors that looked a little bit more physically imposing, that didn't look so. I mean, one
that's what
looked like Ruby Rose, one looked like a wannabe Viking.
I agree with you. We were watching it. We thought, oh, he's got the hammer, but it's like, so what? He's got the fucking hammer. Sylvester Stallone's has superhuman strength. This dude has nothing. Like 2 seconds, he catches him, he's fucking dead. Yeah. So, which was something that also happened at the end of the movie, right? Which suddenly they had this huge sprawling fucking building that they're in for some reason, and there's like 80,000 bad guys that just keep showing up.
Yeah,
it's like,
all
where
of a
do
sudden
these
his
guys
henchmen
come
multiplied.
from? Yeah.
And I thought some scenes like that where the head, the girl villain, the head female villain, going after the kid and saying certain things. I thought that had like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vibe to it. I didn't particularly like that scene. And the CGI at the end with the reveal, I thought was this de-aging shit they're doing is so...
Didn't look very good, yeah.
It didn't look great. But you know what? It did overall push that 90s vibe you're talking about. So part of me was slightly charmed by it. But I think with, looking at it with a critical eye and hearing all the negative that I thought was going to... I'm surprised this has the positivity coming out of it because I watched it. I told you to watch it. You gave me your review and I was like relieved that I wasn't the only one that thought this was fucking good.
Yeah, it's a good movie. There are faults in this movie for 100%, but the faults, for me, most of the faults are just opinion-based things. They're not like the story itself is fucking solid. It's good. Like, you didn't like the bad guy so much, but the bad guy still works in this. He specifically worships, Stallone, I guess. Spoiler. But that's kind of the fucking point of it, right? Like, everything about this movie is built into the idea of the reveal, like at the end, like almost all of it. And so when you get to that point and they do reveal it, it's fucking satisfying.
Yes, it is. I thought that was the completion of it and the storytelling efficiency of it I really liked. And as a viewing experience, I wouldn't have been upset if I saw this in the theater. And that's not just because I'm a Stallone fan.
Neither would I.
But just because it's a good little movie.
My opinion about that doesn't matter. Like you got to think business here because I want more of these. And so I do not want another bullet to the head where I watch it and hey, it's got a following. Like, it's fucking great. I don't want to see a movie have low numbers get reported about it because, and then whatever. And then you fucking never see the shit again. I want to see more. Give me some high numbers on streaming. Let's talk about it. Get it moving. And they'll make a fuck another one.
I hope so. I wonder what
they throw money away on streaming.
The needle has to be moved to what point to get a sequel greenlit. But I would hope that they could do this. But I really think that, in terms of the audience viewing numbers will be much higher for our next film that we're going to talk about, which is Me Time, the Mark Wahlberg, Kevin Hart film that premiered over the weekend on Netflix. And I'm sure this is going to draw a much bigger audience sampling because of the pool of audience members that it goes out to.
Was
it the biggest launch?
Shared something like biggest streaming movie on Netflix right now.
Okay, so it hit number 1 for the weekend, but that's not... Look, this is... I got to be honest here. I laughed out loud 2 or 3 times in this movie. One was the beginning gag with the wingsuit. I thought was fairly amusing, but do you know what started happening is that I started realizing that this wasn't going anywhere, and by the time the third act came around, I was done with this movie. I thought that this, in terms of structure... Once Kevin Hart takes care of a situation for Wahlberg, and then the movie just flounders after that. This whole debt and whatnot, this financial obligation that's happening, from a story point, I thought that they were dead in the water after that. I did not find anything interesting, and I thought that Wahlberg did a very poor impersonation of what Cena was doing in a movie called Vacation Friends last year on Hulu? Do you recall that movie? Which I thought was a better movie altogether.
Actually, that is a better movie. This is a B comedy movie. I'm surprised to see these two guys in this, but I'm not surprised to see this as a Netflix movie because that's exactly how this plays. It's nonsense. It's not very good.
It looks like a business deal. It looks like Kevin Hart is signed to Netflix.
This is a Netflix movie.
Signed.
It's so fucking safe. It's nonsense B-movie everything. It's what they turn Adam Sandler shit into, right, for the most part, which is unfortunate. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Here it doesn't, you know. And it's just too straight edge. It's like not so unoffensive, you know.
It's homogenized, and to the point of I felt almost, I don't want to say embarrassed for Wahlberg in this movie, but I felt like
for both of them.
He was just hanging out there. I don't want to say literally naked because he was in a scene, but like as an actor, he's just doing stuff, and it looked like he wasn't being directed in a certain way, and I started feeling embarrassed for him as a performer. Like you're trying, you're doing something, but it feels like you're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks here. And this reminded me of a really lesser, like Richard Pryor type movie. This is what that reminded me of. Like, you know, I gotta get away. This was the '80s. This would be just a nothing little Richard Pryor Warner Brothers release that would make $7 million and disappear and no one ever talk about again. But
I mean, that's what this
Kevin
was.
Hart's in it.
It was way
people
too.
Are watching it.
Look, I don't know what people are going to think about this, whatever else, but I'm just going to say it. The joke about the trans stuff where, like, the girl's like, do I have a penis? Like, no, not now, but you could later on. That's like, it just, to me, that felt like such a face-saving fucking joke. Like, no, we're trans-friendly.
I didn't have a problem with that, per se, because it felt like he was rushed in the moment. I didn't have a problem with that line. What I had a problem with was a 44-year-old man
the script
still
is
doing
written
Burning
in such
Man.
a way, constantly. Yeah, well, I guess.
They're too old. Both of them are too old for what they're playing. These are two men that are in their 40s, and they're playing a single dad and a guy who has Arrested Development. And I know that ultimately the film comes around to examining that in a real soft way, but it's... or at least for the Wahlberg character, but it's the whole thing with where is he getting the money from? Why can he do these things? The guy cheating, possibly the wife possibly straying. That's from Vince Vaughn movies, like it being. I didn't think anything.
Yeah, I know this is a
original.
lip service movie. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is a lip service movie, and the jokes in it, as I just explained, are lip service. Right? These guys are making. Saving face for themselves, trying to make themselves look good to everyone, which doesn't work, right? The movie doesn't work. It's too safe. At the same time, it then tries to go overboard at a joke here or there for some fucking reason, and it feels out of place when it does that. And it also feels, there were multiple moments in it that I felt like, well, that's like, it's almost woke, but it's not really woke. Like, is there a reason for, like, why is it written in such a way as to be like that? Like, it feels, as I say, it feels like they're saving face. It feels like they're trying to make themselves look. And these are both guys who have cancelable past. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's true. And everything that they've done on this platform that they've released thus far, I mean, Wahlberg really is in a state of free fall in a lot of ways with his career. The last thing he did that had merit was Spencer Confidential, which was a great entry onto the Netflix charts. But this has this is subpar. Infinite is beyond subpar, even though it has a high pedigree of talent behind it. I'm really wondering what he does to get things back on the right track. Yeah. What franchise or where he's going to go with this.
Well, he's always had that, though, hasn't he, Mark Wahlberg? I mean, God, every time he has a hit, God, does he have a huge failure.
Yeah, he follows at least 3 up with one, that's for sure.
I mean, wow, man. There's some... I'll tell you, just look back at his career, like, it is up and down.
Yeah, I mean, The Truth About Charlie was clearly the bottom barrel in a lot of ways.
We were just talking about
office.
Perfect Storm and stuff, and and we were also just talking about Max Payne not too long ago. I mean, it's insane.
No, yeah, you mean even Rockstar tanked at the box office, and I like that movie, so...
Well, it's not. I don't think it's about like what you like. It's just like his career is
you can go on and on.
Yeah,
movies that did not perform particularly well at the box office for him, but he keeps even Shooter once again.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, a lot of those movies know that they're bad. You can look at their release schedule and you can say, oh, like they fucking knew. They still made the movie. They still released it. They knew it was bad. They just released it and be quiet about it. But they're going to still employ Mark Wahlberg next time.
Hell yeah.
Like
There's only so many guys.
Yeah, you can't stop Wahlberg.
You know what the underrated one is from that I keep forgetting is in the film canon of the Wahlberg is Invincible, the Disney film.
Yeah, Invincible's
Football
fantastic.
Film. Great movie.
Really good.
I highly recommend that one. Okay, so that's a negative recommendation on no go for me on Me Time, no go for you on Me Time. The next one is The Black Phone, Scott Derrickson's project where he stepped away from Doctor Strange 2 to complete this film instead. It was very praised by the critics coming out of the festivals. Did very well, almost 90 million gross. And I really enjoyed this movie. Although I'll say it's not particularly scary, but it's unsettling.
I thought it more of a thriller. Yeah, I thought it more of a thriller. Like I didn't. There were a couple times when I was like on the edge of my seat, like, oh, like what's going to happen here? But for the majority of it, not really. You know, it's more of like a
like Don't
feeling.
Breathe. Remember Don't Breathe? It was very similar to that in that it's more. Although that pushes like the boundaries of the grossness a little further.
Yeah, I mean it's more like a feeling, like a like just the neighborhood, like the way people acted in the movie and everything. It gives you that like that kind of Stephen King dairy, like
absolutely,
you know, it type feeling of like of the settings, much more than I guess the thing. Now once he's got the kid in the thing, it kind of becomes a little bit more than that, especially whether or not the kid's going to make a certain decision. But the decisions are understood even by us as the audience so it's obvious he won't make these decisions, but you never know. They kind of try to play it out like maybe he might make the wrong one. So I don't know, but I thought this was just such a satisfying ending on a movie and it's so obvious. There's nothing about it that's like a mystery or kind of out of left field, but kind of is. It's all set up and everything. But tell me, the end of this movie, the end of all the twists as they came together, how was it not satisfying?
It was that's what made the movie for me, because there was a point in the second act when I thought, okay, they're yanking my chain just to yank my chain. He hasn't really done anything, and there's allusions to some pedophilia, there's some allusions to murder, there's some allusions to this and that, but outside of some freaky masks, there wasn't really anything solid going on. And then you get that conclusion where, like you said, the movie ends, and I just felt it was complete. I felt like they weren't going for a sequel. They weren't going for...
Right?
They weren't trying
obvious,
to elongate
wasn't it? In
this.
some way, like, as it happened, it was just obvious that was it. It was like, yeah, it just clicks in such a way. And it's not... There's not just one reveal. There's like a couple of
great
things that happen, like right in a row at the end. It just like wraps the whole fucking thing up with a nice bow on it for you.
I think Derrickson's vindicated for leaving Doctor Strange with this project. I think this is far more enjoyable than Doctor Strange 2.
100%.
And Ethan Hawke does not get enough credit
he is
for
so
how many
good in this.
blockbusters and good movies he's appeared in, not just indie darlings.
Dude, how creepy is fucking... if you don't have Ethan Hawke in this movie, I don't think you have this movie. He is so fucking creepy and low-key creepy, too. Like, it's not in a way that we're like... You think like something's going to happen immediately. Like, you just know, like, this dude's fucking planning some shit. He's got a couple screws loose in his head. Obviously, he's been abused. All that character comes together, and just a look from Ethan Hawke in this movie. It's fucking incredible.
Well, I know that the production design and the director take care of the masks and all that kind of stuff, the costume designer. So the mask is doing a lot of work. But I don't know who came up with, if it was the costume designer, if it was Derrickson.
I mean, come on. The looks, the posturing.
The hair, the red turtleneck, the kind of feminine quality he had as well.
When he drops the groceries, it's like, oh, all that shit. Like, oh my God.
Great.
Come on.
It's great. Yeah, no, I thought at first I was like, okay, is this going to be like Glass? Or I'm sorry, Split, where we have an actor kind of showing us all the different variations, but it's not. It's way more low key than that, and it's just as effective, if not creepier, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So, a big recommendation for me. I don't want to give away too much on this because I think that this movie needs to be seen or deserves to be seen by people that necessarily, even if horror isn't your thing, because you know me, I'm not the biggest horror guy, but I like thrillers.
This isn't more of a
kept
thriller,
me going.
yeah.
Written by the original source material is Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son. So you were right on with the Stephen King scenario. And I don't know if the original story was set in 1978, but I like that this is.
I like that there's no cell phones. I like that the daughter or the sister has this ability. I like Jeremy Davis as the father is fucking fantastic.
My God, there is so much.
It's good acting.
Everything about this movie, everything like this is, again, Samaritan. You got to run for your money because this is one of the best written movies I've seen all year.
This goes on my top 5 of the year.
And I remember people liking movies like Hereditary and stuff like that. And I thought, man, those movies are a lie. Like, that's not as good as you think it is. It's not really that well written. It has like a moment here or there, but as a whole story, not great. And then I see something like this, and we're talking about like people have psychic abilities and shit, and like, yeah, this is like a Stephen King movie, but this is like prime Stephen King. Like, this isn't like Stephen King, like, just shitting some stuff out. Like, the clouds have parted, and the angels are singing to him. This is some good shit.
Yeah, it's to me, it's a major accomplishment in this genre, especially when I thought that maybe the genre had been used up and brief of ideas in a lot of ways, and just a really straightforward, low-key, but highly effective movie. And you can tell by the box office. I mean, this continued to do well week after week and turned into a big success for Universal, who has put it on Peacock. So if you are wanting to watch this, you can check it out right now on Peacock. You don't even need to be a subscriber to their service. Just download the app and give it a watch.
Do yourself a favor.
Let us know what you guys
Samaritan and the Black Phone. Do it. As a double feature, oh my God.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with those two. And those are really kind of both throwbacks in a lot of ways to a way that filmmaking was done in the decades past. Well, what is not a throwback and is very new is the She-Hulk series on Disney+. And, at full disclosure, Trevor and I have only seen the pilot episode, so we're going to be discussing that. I know that the second episode was released just recently.
Just released Thursday. We got the third one, yeah.
This is about a 40-minute intro to the character. Lots of stuff here.
How long it was?
It felt longer to me.
Felt like an hour.
I am on the fence with this show. I will be watching another episode.
It is a dog shit opening episode. Let's be honest. It's dog shit.
It's
dog shit. Just say it's dog shit.
Do you know what it reminded me of? If this was animated, this would fall right in line with all this Marvel animated world.
No, it's a terrible opening to a show. The show might be good because I've seen the trailers and the opening episode is supposed to be like this. This is not good. This is a terrible way to. This is definitely tell not show that's happening in this episode. It's just my God, is it just a bunch of nonsense? You don't even need to watch this. You're good. Like, you watch the second episode. It's a filler episode. To have that be your opening episode? Oh, come on.
I was surprised at how blatantly they were using the Smart Hulk as kind of an entry point for viewers, because they know that what they have on their hands isn't really that interesting without it.
Well, that's what
I don't think he's going to be. Is he going to be in the subsequent episodes? Because I don't think he's that much a part of the series.
I doubt it. He's not really. That's why I was. He's not even that interesting. Aside from him being the reason that she is the way she is, he's really. We're good. Like, I don't know. We spend so much time on this. It's like, obviously, she just has no interest in it, and I have no interest in it. So why are we doing it?
It felt to me, very. I mean, look, it's got an agenda behind it in a lot of ways. It's got a corporate mandate that you can clearly tell in some of the dialogue.
100%.
Once I got, but I knew that going into it, so that's not my quibble with the show. My quibble is story structure wise, though. Their car gets blasted by aliens.
Well, it doesn't get blasted by aliens.
Whatever, it goes off the road because of this fucking alien ship.
The road.
Yeah, you can't make jokes about being a female driver or anything in the show to make
that's
it
a big setup. Now now you're talking shit about the biggest setup in the show, which is that as the Hulk, shit just seeks you out, and what happens at the end of the episode? As the Hulk, shit just seeks her out because there's no reason or rhyme for it. It just happens.
But that's the thing is, she goes into this like Mr. Miyagi training thing for months, apparently, if not weeks. And
I was confused about that. Yeah, that seemed like 2 days, right?
Where did the aliens go? She's not worried about that.
They explain that though. They do say he does explain that.
Does he? I missed that.
Yeah, that they were seeking him out to give some it was a peaceful thing. They were trying to just give him some information. It's like, I forget what it was, but it was fucking nothing. They played it off like, it was just some, because that was the whole setup. It was like, it was nothing, but like that shit seeks you out as the Hulk. Like you kind of fucking like people seek you out to like do this kind of shit, right? I'm telling you, man, this is one of the worst fucking opening episodes to a TV show I've ever seen. And I'm so intrigued by how bad this was that I'm watching episode 2 because I want to see how this how does this spring off into an actual show? Because there's no setup for a show here other than, oh, she's She-Hulk. Like, yeah, I got that from the title.
I was kind of thinking like they knew this was a campy deal, and that's what the vibe we were going for. So I'm still hoping that we're
the vibe of the
headed
comic,
down the
really,
camp.
though. So I'm fine with that to some degree. Like I don't really have a problem with that, but boy, does this just not establish anything. It establishes nothing. It's a total waste of time.
I don't find her to be for how
She's
strong physically and
as an actor,
personality that they want to make this character. I thought that it was a weak character. She's constantly in need of help from others, and then says she doesn't need it, but then everyone else is coming to her rescue throughout the episode. So I just thought, the arrogance of it, either it's cast too old, for this teenage kind of brattiness that the character seems to have, or it's I don't know. Like maybe it just cast.
I don't know, because it is kind of like the idea of like the man woman, like a or well, maybe I'm saying that wrong, but you know what I mean, like a
mansplaining and all that
like
shit. I mean, believe me,
not in that sense, but like you have a lot of shows where the Peter Pan syndrome, where the guy doesn't grow up. Like I can kind of understand that in here, where you have like a grown woman who's still like in her mind like a kid, still trying to figure it out. That was the Ally McBeal shit, really.
Which this obviously wants to be in a different version. Yeah. I mean, this has got that kind of. That's why I thought, are we going with this fantastic?
I find it highly annoying. Like the beginning of this episode, where her friend's like, "Oh my god, you're the greatest person ever! I love you. You're so good. You're so great." Like that shit's just like, oh my god. Can we not do that again?
I didn't need all the exposition, but I'm gonna watch the second episode. Are you gonna watch it?
Me too. I'm probably gonna watch the third episode here because I'm just gonna wait until that third episode drops and then probably watch 2 back to back to really get an idea of. Because I have a feeling, I've seen the trailers and there's more to this show. So I kind of have a feeling this was just a bad first episode. Maybe the show still sucks. Possibly. But once we're past this initial setup now, we have to be getting into the meat of the show.
Yeah, because you can't have too many fluff episodes when you only have, I think, 8 to 10 episodes for the season.
Yeah, I don't know who the bad guy is in the show. I don't know. Why should I watch episode 2? There's no reason given in episode 1 to watch another episode. There's none. There's no setup other than she is She-Hulk. Like, what's the setup? She's She-Hulk. Shit will seek her out. That's all I know. That's a fucking terrible opening. Where's the hook?
Well, there wasn't even a twist in the main pilot,
no
right?
Shit, I know. That's what I'm saying. This is like, it's just a non-existent nothing. This is like reading the setup for a show of like what the show is. Well, she's She-Hulk. She's turned into the Hulk by Bruce Banner, and then they get some blood swap, and then she turns into the Hulk, but she's a lawyer. Like, all right, well, what's the fucking show? Like,
what's
get
the
it.
Fucking point.
It's like Laverne and Shirley. They're best friends, and they work at a shop. They work at the, they look at the bottling plant. Like, okay, but that's not the fucking show, That's like the basis of the show, but they're like the setting, but that's not the show, right? Like there's shit that happens in the show.
A 2-parter, an hour long or an hour and 10, maybe that would explain a little bit more.
That would
I
have
think
been
that
fine,
they're trying to keep these brief at some level.
It felt long though. This one felt real long too.
It did feel long, for even 40 minutes or 38 minutes. So that's a negative recommendation so far, but I do think that there is a potential for at least being a campy watch moving forward here. And Trevor says no go for him, but with some optimism about future
I'm watching more.
episodes as
We're
well.
going to find out. Well, maybe we'll do a second review after we watch the second and third episode.
That's fair.
We'll swing back around. I think that would be fair.
That's fair, too. I like how judicious we're being here. We're being very, or I guess we're
well,
being
to
very
be fair, it is. Some of this stuff, I wonder about how they kind of make these streaming things, because some of it feels like maybe it's a long arc thing, but they cut it up in such a way that it doesn't make sense anymore to cut it up the way they do. Like if this was a movie and this was like the first act, so to speak. It was a little bit longer than that, but because it's episodic, maybe they cut it a little longer. But if this was the first act, that'd be fine. That would work. So is that what I'm seeing here? It's just not cut up very well because this isn't episodic at this point. Whatever I just watched was not an episode. It was something from something longer.
It felt like you said that. Now you say a first act of a movie. It felt like that.
Isn't that what it is? That's what I mean. So it's not a whole
minutes,
thing.
yeah.
It's not a whole arc. I didn't see an episode here. I saw a piece of something.
It ain't good. It ain't. I don't know. I'm gonna hold my judgment first.
We'll see.
It's not good. It's not what I was expecting, and it's not what I thought that what I would get from something like Disney
I don't think
Plus.
it's good.
But I haven't.
As an episode,
right.
It's not good. As a show, I don't know.
Let's move on to talk about movie trailers to round off today's show. First up is Wednesday, the Netflix series coming from the mind of Tim Burton. I don't know if that means he's just executive producing it.
That
this
means
is starring
he
Jenna Ortega.
texted someone while he's on the shitter, and now he gets to make money.
And I think this looks pretty fucking
Are
good.
you kidding me? This looks fucking amazing. How can that be? It looks
I don't
fucking
know.
awesome.
I'm very surprised at it.
Yeah, I want to watch
totally,
this. I want to watch this now. Like, this looks that good.
It's right in line with what the movies were. I mean, Burton had nothing to do with the movies. That was Barry Sonnenfeld and whatnot. It came out in the era that Burton was dominating.
There still has a Burton
screens.
feel to it, though. But yeah,
It
right.
does. It really does. And I
But
like
it keeps
this
that very
young actress as well.
Feel as well. Yeah, it's like a mishmash of both.
It looks darker in tone, but also playful in that the original ones were. But it did look, at least in the trailer, like this whole going to a camp thing was kind of reminiscent of Addams Family Value, the sequel, where they sent him off to a summer camp.
She gets kicked out of public school in this, and so she goes to some private school. Is the idea, I guess, and it has a very it just feels like the Addams Family, but like you say, like the '90s movies. It feels like that.
It feels like it's going to be at least more in line with what audiences are looking for than this Munsters thing coming from Rob Zombie.
Oh, by far. This is I don't, they spent maybe a couple bucks more on this, I would guess, because the Rob Zombie one, I'm pretty sure they spent like $5 on.
Yeah, I think they filmed it on a porn set.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus, I may have been using, cameras from the 2000s. I don't know, maybe like mini DV stuff, looks like.
Yeah,
It's
the Munsters
bad.
looks awful. This Wednesday looks fantastic. I mean, we're just going off a
Legit.
2-minute teaser coming out in the fall on Netflix. Keep your eye out for that one. We both are really excited about this one. The next is an Apple Plus release by Peter Farrelly, the award-winning director of Green Book, and this is
Right.
Greatest Beer Run. Based on a
Ever.
true story, and it's the greatest beer run ever. And I came to know about this story about a guy bringing beer to his buddies in Vietnam because Pabst Blue Ribbon had a can a few years back when I was bartending.
oh.
I read the can, and the story was on the can.
Yeah, they did.
He's bringing in PBR. Yeah, remember that whole thing.
That's right. No, I do remember it now that you say that. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's where they got the source material from. Are they going to quote the can? I mean, what's going on?
They were drinking one day, like, hey, we got a movie here. Yeah, most of the Apple movies I think are uninteresting to me, and this looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it looked
Not
to
gonna
me
lie.
like it had
Looks
the
pretty
tone
good.
of Army of One, that Nicolas Cage movie from a few years back. Where
That
guy
one, maybe
went to
Lord
Iraq.
of War, and I'll listen. Another
Yep.
Nicolas Cage movie is based on a true story like this. This obviously is not the true story. Sorry to let everyone know, even though they say right out of the bat, a guy actually did this. I'm gonna guess probably not so much exactly like this movie portrays it, but regardless of that, this looks pretty interesting and fun. And as ridiculous as it sounds, like a guy is just going to bring some beer to the Vietnam War to give to people fighting the war and stuff, and it presents itself as that. It soon falls into a far more interesting look at the war and like what this guy's going to go through and everything. And I think, yeah, this is going to be good.
I think so too, and I think that Peter Farrelly is underrated in his filmmaking ability. It's almost like when Jerry Zucker stepped away from comedies and he did serious movies like Ghost and First Night that are actually well made and didn't get enough credit, I don't think, for making some of those films because he was looked at as a comedic director. But Green Book is classic studio filmmaking. This looks like classic studio filmmaking, an efficient story, well told, and I'm excited to see this one. I really am. So this comes out September 22nd, I believe, on Apple TV. Next up, we have
What's this called? Is this called? Confess Fletch? Is that the real title of this?
Confess Fletch. Yes.
Confess Fletch, and this is John
the
Hain
new
taking
Fletch
over the role of Fletch that was played by Chevy Chase, obviously in the '80s. Greg Mottola behind the camera, the guy from Superbad, Adventureland, and I'm not fully sold on this. As this to me looks like a television pilot. I got a very CBS television pilot vibe from this.
Yeah. I like John Hamm. I think this looks okay. I like murder mystery things and private eye movies, so I'm definitely going to watch this, but yeah, this does not really look like the Fletch that I know, and maybe that's impossible to recapture, so maybe this is the best we get, and that's fine. It doesn't look bad.
Right. It doesn't look bad. It looks serviceable, but you know what I kept thinking of when I watched this was Zero Effect. And how good that is.
Wow.
You know, for being an oddball
Bill
investigative
Pullman
mystery movie.
fucking out of nowhere here. Okay, Zero Effect.
Well, that's a good, like, kind of just oddball, like, private investigative movie.
It is, yeah.
But what would Shane Black have done with this? I was thinking about that, too, like with the Nice Guys and the way he can write this private eye and snappy one-liners. But
I don't know, yeah.
To me, it felt toned down in a lot of ways from what I was expecting.
I would agree with that too, and I like John Hamm a lot, and I think he plays this up pretty well for this. But I agree with you on that one. It felt like a little safe and a little, I don't know. I guess like the way that the other Fletch movies are, like this is more, and much like everything is, I guess this is far less spoofy-ish than we used to get with comedies like that with people from, I guess, Saturday Night Live. I don't know how else to explain it back in the day when you would have, character actors who were comedians. This is not that.
To me, John Hamm is not the
like,
problem with...
But it's far more of a real movie than any of the other Fletch movies. Like this is
energy
more. This
level
is a closer,
is way down.
Yeah, exactly. This is closer to a real life movie than any of the other stuff. And it seems to me nowadays they play things to be less spoofy, more realistic than they used to.
Well, I guess the source material is a little bit more hard-edged than what the Chevy Chase movies were.
Sure.
Because the ending of First Fletch is pretty intense, and the storyline about racists in the South of Fletch 2 is pretty intense, but they just mock around and fuck around with it.
So it's not how it's the delivery, I think, more than is what I'm talking about, more than necessarily content.
It's a tricky tone to establish, and I wonder if they get anywhere near it with this first one. Because I assume there's going to be a slew of these coming if this does even moderately well. And this will be released September 16th digitally, and I think in a limited release.
This is an Amazon thing, right? I'm pretty sure, so...
Oh, is it Amazon?
Yeah, I'm pretty... am I wrong?
I know it's one of the streaming giants. And the next one we're going to talk about is Weird, the Al Yankovic story with Daniel Radcliffe portraying Weird Al Yankovic for a Roku channel movie. And this is total bullshit. You know this, right? This is all parody.
Love this. Are you kidding me?
So do I. I can't wait to see this.
This is a spoof of every fucking musical nonsense fucking bullshit movie that they make about people's real lives, which is not real. They're fucking not. And this thing is a perfect spoof of that. And how else would you imagine the Weird Al Yankovic story? See, honestly, this is perfect.
He co-wrote it, and I wonder how he got financing for it, because this has got to be a tough sell. I mean, they're talking about his sex and drug downfall, which never happened. He's a vegetarian and totally stone sober. His love affair with Madonna, which never happened.
The parents telling him, we're sorry, you're going to have to be different than who you are, and you're going to have to stop doing the things that you love. I mean, it's fucking perfect, man. I think this is a fucking great movie, especially for being the Al Yankovic story, but also... It perfectly spoofs these true life rise to fame movies of any kind, really, but specifically musical ones. 100%.
Well, they tried this. What, about 16 years ago with Walk Hard, which is moderately successful in doing this, but this to me looks like it's a little bit more. It looks more playful in a weird way. I really.
Yeah, it's perfect, right? For the Al Yankovic story, this is perfect. I couldn't imagine this being any different.
It looks like this would have been on Lifetime a couple years ago before Roku and these guys start buying stuff up.
Maybe because they
But
didn't
even
have
that would have
that.
been fine.
Remember that Kentucky Fried Chicken thing they had on there?
Yeah, with Mario Lopez playing the Colonel from KFC. Mm-hmm. So this looks. This is now on my high priority of to watch. This will be out November 8th on the Roku channel, which is really bumping up their output of content. So if you haven't seen this trailer yet, I really recommend that you watch this trailer over any of the other
100%.
ones that we talked about on the show here.
Yeah,
but
this looks fantastic.
Overall, though, a strong showing for things that are coming up here with Wednesday,
Yeah,
Greatest
I'm
Fear
excited.
Whenever, Fletch,
Surprisingly
and Weird
enough,
Al.
I'm excited for streaming movies.
I'm excited that we have content to watch coming up because with the death of things in the theater right now, there's just nothing to see and nothing to watch. And I'm rewatching old shit just to fill time. I don't need to watch No Time to Die again, and I've watched it and I realize I still don't like it. I'm still upset about it. Fucking movie. That movie pisses me off, but I don't want to get on that tangent. Well, guys, we've had you for an hour and a half. We've held you captive. We want to thank you for making it to the end of the show. That's going to do it for today's episode. As always, you can check out our back catalog on MovieMavericks.com. Please rate, review, and spread the word on the show, wherever platform you may be using. Thank you for your support, guys. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I'm Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to MovieMavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!